Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menashe. Today's show is the Book of the Month. Happy 1st of November. On the first of each month, we review a new book, and this month is no exception. Now, to be considered for Book of the Month, a book has to meet a very simple criteria. It has to be impactful enough that it can either change your life or your perspective on the world. Now, whether it does that or not, of course, is up to you. You might consume the content, remark on how good it is, but if you don't internalize it and make it part of you, you're missing the point. This month's book will definitely change your life. The book is called Getting Things Done, The Art of Stress-Free Productivity by David Allen. It's not a new book. It was first published in 2001 with numerous revisions. The most recent edition is 2015. Since technology and tools are moving so quickly, the most recent edition removes a lot of the tech tools that have a short shelf life, and what remains is a timeless edition that focuses on the techniques that are needed to really grow your productivity. Now, this book is about how to manage the overwhelm that represents the reality of modern life. The author, David Allen, has been called one of the world's most influential thinkers on productivity. As I was reading the introduction of the book, it's like the author was inside my head. He was articulating many of the struggles that I faced on a weekly, if not an hourly basis. I experienced the stress of having too many things to remember, too many things to do, and too many priorities to ever feel like I'm keeping ahead. And while the title of the book seems to imply it's about accomplishing more, it's really a book about how to engage appropriately with your world. In some cases, it's about doing less, about focusing, and about eliminating the overwhelm and distraction that's associated with what you're not doing. When I'm sitting at my desk working on a focused task, I'm often distracted by the nagging knowledge of something that's overdue, that someone is expecting me to do something and it's not complete. The mental juggling of tasks is overwhelming and causes a tremendous amount of loss of focus and distraction. Even writing down the tasks on a to-do list doesn't solve the problem. Some people simply write down their focused task list of maybe 8 or 10 items they plan for that day. The problem with this approach is that it neglects the dozens of other items that are not on the list. Those items are still stuck in your head and occupying mental storage. Writing them down seems overwhelming and might not be the way to go either. Now, unless you have a method for decision-making, you quickly get overwhelmed with these giant lists. The method presented by David Allen is based on 3 decades of experimentation and refinement. It's based on 3 fundamental practices. Number 1, capturing all the things that might need to get done or have usefulness to you in the future. That's right, absolutely everything. You want it all written down. That sounds like a lot. Number 2, directing yourself to make front-end decisions so you've got a workable inventory of next steps. And number 3, curating and coordinating all of that content, utilizing the recognition of the multiple levels of commitment with yourself and others that are in play. A paradox has emerged in our lives. We're bombarded with choices that far exceed our capacity. We have an enhanced quality of life, and at the same time, we've been adding to our stress levels by taking on way more than we can possibly ever have the resources to handle. The fact is, the edges of work have blurred. In the old days, you could tell when work was done. The field was plowed, the room was painted. These days, there's no real boundary. Writing another blog article, 10 more social media posts, updating the images on the website, reviewing the Google AdWords campaign, checking that the lawyers completed the title work, and reading the financial statements, making sure that the expenses were properly categorized as part of the construction inventory and not operating expenses. The list goes on and on and on. It's further amplified by constant, always-on communications. Direct messages on LinkedIn, reading the reviews on your podcast, engaging investors, making sure that the investor update is complete and accurate. The list is endless. And from time to time, we've all experienced that feeling of presence, of flow, of working, of doing and being where the mind is clear and constructive things are really happening. Let's be clear. Accessing the ideas in David Allen's book is a heavy lift. The system he outlines is a heavyweight system. It's hard work and it requires discipline. The number of open loops in our lives is seemingly endless, from big ones that relate to your life's mission to small ones like changing the light bulb by the back door. By writing all of them down, there's no pressure to keep them in your head any longer because you have a system that you trust for handling any input that comes your way. You have a framework for decision-making. David Allen's book was all the rage in Silicon Valley for a number of years after it was published. Several of my colleagues started using it religiously. I was a little bit slow to adopt it, and I've been adopting it into my workflow. And while the system required a large commitment in time to implement, the benefits are self-evident. As you think about that, definitely go out and read Getting Things Done by David Allen. Have an awesome rest of your day. Go make some great things happen. I'll talk to you again tomorrow.